Raw and Nerdy.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Raw and Nerdy. This is episode number 66 or 64. I don't know. Anyway, we're doing Nintendo 64 tonight. I am Joe the Widget, and I am joined by my fellow co-hosts, the nerds extraordinaire themselves, starting with Rook.
Execute episode 66.
Nice.
That was a good intro. And Archon.
I don't have anything as good as that. What's up, everybody?
I don't know. As soon as he said episode 66, execute order 66 popped into my head.
It just came right into your head. Just popped right in.
There it was.
So we are we're continuing like our usual. We're doing the Gaming Through the Ages, which is going to be a while. And tonight we're doing Nintendo 64. And then we're going to be going straight into PlayStation 2 next. We might do a little mention of Dreamcast, but it had a very limited game release on launch.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't very big, so we'll do like a quick mention of it. Probably on the next episode because it came out after the N64, but before PlayStation 2. Then GameCube, then Xbox. We have a lot to do still.
So far to go.
You know, Rook's going to be definitely carrying us on the Xbox part because I think I played 2 Xbox titles total out of all Xbox systems.
Yeah, we were talking about this. I played a lot of Xbox games, but I didn't play them in the Xbox era. So,
True.
I mean, I still got a list that I can play. Like, I've played several on Game Pass. I've played several when they were on the Xbox 360. But they were the original Xbox games. So
I think one of my favorite series that was for Xbox came out for Xbox One. It might have been Fable.
Yeah, that started, but we'll talk about that on Xbox.
Yeah,
that
we'll
was.
get there.
You gotta
My
be
brain
careful
just
there.
goes.
You can't say Xbox One because Xbox One is a totally different system.
Those punks, they had to do it to
The
us.
first Xbox.
Yes.
They did
The
that on
OG.
purpose, I swear.
OG.
OG Xbox works.
There you go.
What have you guys been up to this week?
Work.
Well, yeah,
Work.
and that too.
More work.
But I actually
Work.
I had Wednesday and Thursday off this week, which I wound up going to Disneyland with my girlfriend on Wednesday. Her
That's
best
cool.
friend came into the States from the Philippines, and my girlfriend and her have never been to Disneyland, so we went, and it was actually entertaining. It was my 28th time going.
Yeah.
I lived in
Disneyland.
California for 7 years and never went to Universal or Disney.
I have not been to Universal since I was a kid.
Disney's fun when you're a kid,
Mm.
but I mean, I guess if you're not a big thrill person. I'm a thrill person, so I'd rather go to if I was in California, I'd rather go to Magic Mountain or something that's got the big boy roller coasters.
Seeing my girlfriend's face about everything made it all worth it, and there's one tradition I have that kind of stuck true again is I had to ride Pirates of the Caribbean. I have to do it every time.
Oh yeah.
It's completely lame, but I love it. Dead men
See-
tell no tales.
See, that's like me. Every time I've ever been to Disneyland, my mom used to take me there a lot when I was a kid, and then when my daughter was really little, I brought her, and I always have to ride It's a Small World.
Oh, I was so happy that thing was closed for renovations. I hate
It's
that.
a small world after all.
Don't do it. Now we're going to have everyone write in and say how much they hate us now.
Or I just got that song stuck in a lot of people's heads.
It's nostalgic for me though, man.
Yeah, I think one of the best things about Disneyland is their Star Wars land, which is fairly new, and it does make you feel like you're walking in Star Wars.
I did remember Star Tours. I used to love that ride.
Oh, that ride is still amazing. The roller coaster, why can't I think of it?
Space Mountain.
Space Mountain, thank you. Because the 3 roller coasters are based off of mountains, Manahorn and Thunder Mountain and Space Mountain.
Yeah.
But the newest Disney ride, it's about the something Rebellion, and it's a completely interactive ride where they put you in Star Wars. So you get on the shuttle, and you're supposed to be being transported to a different planet and the Rebellion is taking you there. Your shuttle gets hijacked, and then they have actors come in dressed as Imperial soldiers, and they take you out to go get questioned. So then they set you in groups, and they put you in these interrogation rooms, and then you get into an escape vehicle. It is absolutely the best ride in Disneyland by far.
Isn't that very similar to Star Tours?
No. Star Tours, you go through that line, then you get in this little simulator, and you go through the space thing. From the time it feels like you're still in line, but you're not. You start going into the ride itself. They get you into a shuttle, an Imperial shuttle, not Imperial shuttle, a Rebellion shuttle, and you start flying, and there's this whole scene going on with all the screens around you, and you get hijacked. As soon as the doors open up, all these Imperial soldiers come in and take you out, put you in these lines, and then they're all acting. They do a great job. They stay in character 100%. It's just Star Wars everywhere. That you're on a Star Destroyer, and they put you in an interrogation room, and then you can hear people climbing in the rafters around you or in the vents, and they break you out of that room, put you on a vehicle with a droid, and they take you through the entire Star Destroyer escaping.
Oh, nice.
So
Sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, it's this whole long adventure that you do, and it's absolutely incredible. It was my second time riding it, and I couldn't wait to see what everyone else I was with would think of it.
So for me, going to Disney, it would be to go to Galaxy's Edge. It's my only reason I'd want to go. I don't care about all the other stuff, but that Star Wars stuff is supposed to be on point.
It is. It's incredible. You can get the blue milk there.
The blue milk?
Yep.
Nice.
All the restaurants are perfectly Star Wars themed and everything. The shops, I want to do the lightsaber building because it's a whole little production they do when you do it. Like you're supposed to be a Jedi and you're there to build your first lightsaber, and they have this whole production with the actors and everything like that as you build your lightsaber. The only problem is it's like $180 to build one to do that.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
But those lightsabers are absolutely cool. I wanted one so bad. I just couldn't do it that
I don't know. Everything I've heard about Disney lately is that you pay a ridiculous amount to go. You get to ride maybe 2 things all day because the lines are so ridiculously long.
Thankfully,
and then you go home.
Yeah, thankfully we did it in the middle of winter, so middle of January, in the middle of the week. So the prices were at their cheapest, and that was $167 for the park hopper to do California Adventure and Disneyland. $167. That was the cheapest you can get all year per ticket.
That's crazy. Did you actually get to ride things, or were you in line for like 4 hours per ride?
Nice thing is they have an app that shows you all the ride queues. So we were able to pick the rides based on the queue. And I think the longest we waited in line was 20 minutes for a ride.
Wow. That's really good for Disneyland.
Yeah. So that was the best time to do it. If you're going to go in the winter, go in the middle of the week. And it's LA, so the weather's not going to be terrible. Felt busy on the main street and in the streets itself, but when you're going on rides, it wasn't that bad. The longest ride queues were 70 minutes, and we just avoided them and waited till later.
See, where I live, we had the opposite of weather's not going to be terrible. And our kids had school called off for most of the week because it was negative 25-degree wind chills. So, yeah, you wouldn't be going to Disneyland out here. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, and then we went on Thursday. We did a little tour of LA. Went to the Hollywood sign, and it's not burning people. That whole video that circulated was an AI POS.
Which one?
There was a video that circulated where it's showing the Hollywood sign burning.
Oh yeah.
It made a lot of people mad.
First of all, the wind was blowing the wrong direction in that video because the wind was blowing towards the ocean, not up towards the sign.
Well, the Santa Ana winds are blowing to the west.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes them dangerous.
Yes.
And
but the way the winds were blowing in that video were blowing towards the sign, which is east of the ocean.
Okay, that's not what you said.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. I said it was going the opposite direction of the sign.
Yeah, the sign would be to the west.
Then I misheard.
Yeah.
When I'm editing, I'll have to listen to that and make sure I did. So yeah, it was a blast. Had some fun. Went to dinner for 3.5 hours. And
that's a long dinner.
Well, we went to Korean
Very
barbecue.
long dinner.
We went to Korean barbecue. And there was a lot of us, so we were just sitting there talking and eating nonstop. The most I've eaten in one sitting in forever. And that was my week. I didn't do much else. I didn't have much time to play many video games. I did play some Icarus, but that's it. I was in San Diego on Monday for work. Worked 11 hours, drove home. That's it. That's it for me.
Yeah, I didn't play a lot of Icarus this week because I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake again. I'm playing through the first game all the way. I want to play all the way through it, and then I want to play all the way through the intergrade little mid game. That's like
now that it's on PC, I might have to pick it up and try it again.
Okay, so I was reading an article about it the other day, and as I'm playing through it, I agree 100% with it. I know you don't like the combat system near as much as the old Final Fantasies.
Can't stand it.
But the Final Fantasy VII Remake, story-wise, if you actually play through it and play through the whole story and follow the story with it, is one of the best. It is the best Final Fantasy game ever made, hands down. The story is so good, and
I didn't like the fact they changed a lot of the original story though.
They didn't really change a lot of the original story though. They
didn't. That's the thing. Like you're hung on that, but they didn't. All they did was
I'm hung on the combat.
Add to it. All they did was add to the story. They added more depth to it. Like your time in Midgar there's more to it.
Yeah, I read an article and they pointed out like things they changed from the original to the new one.
The main story, the main story and the way that story flowed and was told is all still the same.
Cool.
They just added.
The only thing that they added that I didn't really care for, and slight spoiler alert for when you play it, is there is one battle toward the end of the game where you fight against Sephiroth before you even leave Midgar, and that kind of bothered me because
that never happened.
Like, you don't fight Sephiroth until way later into the normal Final Fantasy VII, but it fits the story the way the story is being told.
Yeah, my only problem is the combat. That's the only problem I've ever had with it. I told you guys I played it for a few hours on the PlayStation 4, and it was a beautiful game, but I couldn't get past the combat. And that's 60% of the game at least.
I was playing it earlier today, and my daughter was like, "Are you playing a game or are you watching a movie?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know. It's that good, isn't it?" She's like, "What? That's a game?" I was like, "Yeah, it's a game."
Now, I'll be honest. While the combat really didn't bother me that much, I do wish they would have left the original combat system in and just upgraded the graphics and everything with it.
Yeah, I mean, if you play it on like easy combat mode, it's a little bit closer, but it's still different. It's more of a Kingdom Hearts style combat, but you get used to it really fast, and to me, I get over it really quick. I like the way that you can switch between the characters, and when you switch between between the characters, the other ones will just go on without you. You don't have to try and control everybody.
Here's what they need to do with Final Fantasy VII. Get the team who made Baldur's Gate 3 to make a D&D version of Final Fantasy VII.
Nah.
Of that story. Because that would be interesting.
After this is done, they need to leave Final Fantasy VII alone and move on. Like, I wish they would give this treatment to all the good Final Fantasies.
I want it on Chrono Trigger, but without adding. I just want a graphic overhaul. That's all I want.
I like the adding. I'm not going to lie. I love the things that they added. I love the extra story. The fact that they took Final Fantasy VII, which you could beat the entire game in about 40 hours, and they made the first iteration, aka the first disc, about 40 hours of story. It's so much more story, and it's so good. If they changed
Chrono Trigger, I would cry. It was perfection. That's what it was.
The thing they're doing with Final Fantasy VII Remake would actually make sense more in Chrono Trigger.
No.
Where you affect the timeline in Chrono Trigger.
I don't think so, because they don't do anything really that changes the timeline. All they did was add more depth to the story. Like, your whole time with Aerith is longer, and there's side missions you can do and stuff.
They added more depth, but the explanation of what those creatures are at the end of the first disc is why I think would work better in a Chrono Trigger.
Maybe. But I like that they there's so many side characters that you don't really get to know very well, like Biggs and Wedge and Jesse and everything in Midgar. You don't really get to know them very much, but in the remake you do. Like, you actually develop a relationship with these characters and become good friends with these characters because the story takes you there and shows you more about them and about their life and what they're doing and what Avalanche is actually doing and why they're actually doing it, as opposed to just, oh, go do this because we said so.
Instead of just glossing over the motivation and everything.
Right. There's a lot more to it. It's amazing. I am having so much fun with it, and I can't wait to get to Rebirth because I have not played that one yet. I've owned it since February and have not played it yet.
I haven't played Rebirth. I've only played the remake. I need to get into Rebirth.
Everybody I've ever seen, every list I've ever seen of best Final Fantasy games ever, Rebirth is number one.
Sorry, but I'm going to completely 100% disagree with that.
You can't if you haven't played it yet.
There's a reason why I won't disagree with that. Because my top 10 list is coming out soon for the N64.
There's no Final Fantasy. There's no Final Fantasy on N64.
Final Fantasy. Why am I thinking Legend? Zelda. I don't know.
Was there a Final? I don't think there was a Final Fantasy.
No, that was SquareSoft was exclusive Sony at that time.
Yeah.
What system was Crystal Chronicles on the GameCube?
I have no idea.
I gotta see.
Now we're curious about where this was. That was on
Crystal Chronicles.
Which PlayStation 4, GameCube.
GameCube. Yep. First one was on GameCube. Okay, that's what it was. Okay. Anyway, I've been having a blast with the game, and even though I have a slight addiction to Icarus, I've already got 170 hours into the game. Final Fantasy, this playthrough is taking me away from it because
you got 50 hours more than me, sir.
I know, and you guys started way before I did.
I know,
but yeah, I've been really enjoying this playthrough, and I can't wait to get to Rebirth. That's the goal, is to get to Rebirth because I've I've been wanting to play it since I got it back in February, but I just haven't had the right time, and this is the right time.
Just remember, the nighttime is the right time.
Other than that, if I'm not playing Final Fantasy, I'm watching Suits. I'm already like almost done with season 4. It's so good. I have never laughed so hard watching a show in my life. It's amazing.
Nice.
How about you, Rook? Nope.
Oh, so for me, the reason why Archon has a big disparity instead of a smaller disparity in Icarus playing time is because I've been working nonstop for the past 14 days. 12 days, sorry. Finally getting a weekend off, so that's good. I swapped working weekends with someone, so I worked it this last weekend. He's working it this weekend for me. Pretty much this last week, I played a little bit of Icarus. I played a little bit of Star Trek. Forgot the name of that game. Resolute. And then I worked a little bit on my Super Star Destroyer set that I got for Christmas. That is over 10,000 pieces, and I haven't made much progress on it. But I did learn a very valuable lesson that MEK, a fairly dangerous chemical if you don't know what you're doing, does a great job of permanently bonding pieces together. And because this set is notorious for certain panel pieces just falling off, I permanently bonded them together. And when I say permanent, it actually molecularly bonds them together. And finally, because my week has been boring, I will live and die by the food brand Fresh Pet. My dog has loved it. She's actually eager to eat now instead of just looking at her dog food bowl and like, what the heck is this? She actually devours it all. So it's going to be an expensive food, but as long as she's happy, I'm happy.
Oh yeah, she's your fur baby.
Mm-hmm.
I get that.
So let's get into our main topic. I've been itching to get to my list.
Can't wait.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Nintendo 64. I didn't buy this system until 2-3 years after it launched, but I did, and I played the crap out of it. It launched in 1996. It was codenamed Project Reality because it was Nintendo's attempt to create the first 3D-based console. They wanted to introduce 3D gaming to the world with it, and they succeeded. It was the first true 3D-based system. It launched Nintendo skipped the 32-bit era entirely to build the system, and they launched it as a 64-bit. And that's the only way they could do it for the 3D hexagons and the assets. Like I can't think straight. Mm-hmm. And it only had 4 gigs of RAM at the time. Was it 4 megs? 4 gigs. And it launched at $199, which was cheaper than the PlayStation, which is $400 today. And they did that choice because they lowered the price of the system itself because the games were more expensive than PlayStation games. Because they decided to go with the cartridge. So that their whole thing with it was that it eliminated load times and skips and issues like that. However, most third-party developers backed out of the N64 because of the cost of the cartridges was way more than CDs. So they would have lost money instead of gain it. That's why most of the N64's titles were first-party developed. Not all, but most were.
That would be 4 megabytes of RAM.
4 megabits, thank you. Yeah, we didn't go into gigs so much later.
With the expansion pack, made it 8 megs.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to that. It was the first true system with a built-in 4-player with games designed for players. For 4 players. Mm-hmm. And the production of the system ended in 2003.
It's the first system where you didn't need a multi-tap to be able to play 4-player.
Right. They later added on some additions to it, like the 64DD. Did you guys ever get that?
We never got the disc drive.
It wasn't very good. It wasn't worth it.
And it looked ridiculous. They started copying Sega's Tower. And of course, like Rook said, they added the RAM expansion, which became required for several games after, I think, 2000 right around 1998. There were games started coming out that required it. I think Donkey Kong Country 64 was one of them because I had to buy it. Well, the Donkey Kong Country
came with it.
Came with it. Yes, getting that.
Yep.
Because it was required for it. And that's why I made Donkey Kong Country more expensive, but I didn't care because I'm such a huge Donkey Kong Country fanboy that I went for it anyway.
Except it was Donkey Kong 64 was not Donkey Kong Country.
No, it wasn't.
Completely different.
It was a 3D base, and I still loved it.
Yeah, it was okay.
Donkey
Plus, the
Kong.
Nintendo 64 also introduced something amazing.
What was that?
A lot of people didn't like it too much. I mean, some people didn't like it, but I loved it. The Rumble Pack for the controller.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That made things just feel a little bit more realistic.
Well, when they built the 64, they built it for expansion in mind. They did the same thing with the controller. They had that expansion slot in it, so you could do extra saves in it and things like that, but also the main system itself. But they They only released 2 of the expansions that they really wanted to release out of I think they had 12 in development, but they figured it was too bulky and crazy once you start adding everything into it.
Right.
Oh, they weren't wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, they were doing an 8 megabit RAM upgrade that they wanted to release but didn't because for one no games really required it. The low output of new titles and the expensive prices of N64 games compared to PlayStation ones made Nintendo lose their first place spot to Sony during that time.
There's also something else that that Nintendo 64 did that ended up causing me a lot of heartache. See, I got a Nintendo 64 the Christmas it came out. I was one of the lucky kids. My dad and my stepmom made sure they got me the system. I opened the system. There's a picture. I actually have a picture of me somewhere of me holding this Nintendo in the air like it's the holy grail. I am down on my knees with it up in the air like it is the greatest gift I've ever gotten in my life. I opened this thing up, and let me tell you the absolute disappointment that I went through because it only came with the television adapter that had the red, yellow, and white plugins.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't have one of those TVs at the time. It didn't come with the old school screw in like the old systems did.
Oh,
it only had it only had the red, yellow, white cords, and I had nothing I could hook that into that I could play it on. And we immediately went to the store to buy the adapter because it was available. Sold out everywhere, of course, because nobody had those TVs then. It was almost a full 2 weeks before I finally was able to get that adapter and play this system. I sat there with this system.
Dude, I feel your pain.
For 2 weeks. It was so bad.
I have a little game I wanted to play with you guys. I think you guys can easily smash this game. I want to know.
Is that a hint?
Maybe. I wanted to know if you guys can guess the top 10 best-selling games for Nintendo 64, and you have 20 attempts. Not particular order.
Together?
Together.
We can tell you number 1.
What's that?
You're probably wrong.
Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
It's on the list. Not number 1,
it's not
but
number
it is
one.
on the list.
Number 1. Sworn it sold more.
I mean Mario 64.
Mario 64 is number 1.
Yep. Mario 64 is number 1.
But that's kind of a cop-out because it was a pack-in game.
Number 2.
Mario Kart.
Bingo.
Banjo-Kazooie is going to be on there.
Banjo-Kazooie is not on the list.
It's not. Okay.
No.
Mario Kart's number 2.
Super Smash Bros.
You're not looking at the list, are you?
No, I'm looking at you. I'm thinking of the games that you would buy for a bunch of kids to play together.
Super Smash Bros.
On it.
Mario Party.
Mario Party is not on the list.
Pokemon Stadium.
Pokemon Stadium is not on the list.
Star Fox.
Star Fox 64 is number 10.
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye number 3.
How many have we got that's on the list so far?
You have 1, 2, 3, 4. No, Pokemon Stadium was on the list. That was my bad. 5, 6. You have 6 out of 10.
Pokemon
Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
No.
Which one? We both said something. Which one?
Pro Skater not on the list.
Pokemon Snap.
Pokemon Snap is not on the list. Stadium was though. That's where I was my bad.
Okay.
Rogue Squadron.
No. You got four more attempts.
Really? We're not at 20 yet. No way.
16 guesses.
Wave Race 64.
Wave Race is not on the list.
What?
Yeah. Surprising.
Turok.
No. Also surprising. Diddy Kong
Racing.
On the list. I'll give you guys a couple extra ones. Perfect Dark not on the list. They're very, very common ones. Okay, little hint is
Perfect Dark is one of the most recognized games on the system.
No, I never played it actually.
What?
There's the opposite of Mario Kart 64 that came out for the N64.
You already said Diddy Kong Racing.
Okay, you did. That's right. Okay. If I give any kind of hint for this one, you guys would know it immediately. So I think you're missing one. You guys did.
The one if you give a hint, we would know.
Yeah. It's one I would have never have guessed to be on the list.
I don't think it's Shadows of the Empire.
Pilot Wings?
No, I wish. I didn't like that one as much as the Super Nintendo one.
Man, you're making a stink.
I disagree. Shadows of the Empire?
No.
No, I just said that one.
Mortal Kombat Trilogy.
Well, it's actually a very common one for the N64. It's
Mortal
just
Kombat
that
4.
a lot of people didn't like it.
Majora's Mask?
Yeah.
Oh, that when you say
9.
a lot of people didn't like that, me and you are those lot of people. Everyone else loves that game.
No, actually,
everyone else loves that game.
I know a lot of people that did not like that game. A lot.
That's on like almost every top 10 list you'll ever see for Nintendo 64.
Which doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, so the actual list goes Mario 64 number 1, Mario Kart 64 2, 007 3, Ocarina of Time 4, Smash Bros 5, Diddy Kong Racing 6, Pokemon Stadium 7, Donkey Kong 60. Oh, you guys missed that one, didn't you?
Oh, Donkey Kong?
Yeah. Zelda Majora's Mask is 9, and Star Fox 64 is 10. So, interesting list. I thought it was pretty crazy. I messed that up a little bit myself, but
there's a lot of games on that list that are not on my list.
Oh yeah, mine too.
A lot of games.
Let's get into our personal list, because that's a lot more fun.
I think we should make Rook go last.
Yes, we should. We should.
Mr. Chomp at the Bit, go for it.
All right.
No, he's got to go last.
Nope. Let's get him out of the way.
I didn't get to do my PlayStation list.
He's gonna explode for
me.
Yeah, he may
your full like 5 games.
Yeah,
he may pee in his chair if we don't let him go. So
all right, Rook, give it to us, buddy.
I'll start with a couple honorable mentions because honestly, Diddy Kong Racing and Super Smash Bros. Have to be mentioned. Super Smash Bros. Is just an amazing game to play anyway.
I didn't like it. I never liked that series.
That's just because you don't like competition against friends like that. That's all.
No, I didn't. I actually played that game against a very famous person when I was working for a game studio.
I like that series, but not that iteration of the series.
It's in my honorable mentions because it's the game that got me into the series, and I did play it quite often. Mario Kart 64 was the first racing game.
Okay.
Is that your number 10?
Yeah, that's number 10.
Okay.
Number 9, Star Fox 64. Me and my brother spent a lot of time.
Surprise.
Yeah. Me and my brother played a lot of this one. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
That's a good one. See, that's the one that I already said would be on my list because it wasn't on my PlayStation list. It was on this list instead.
It made my PlayStation list, but not this one.
Because I'm also a big Pokemon fan at the time and still am. And it was the first 3D Pokemon game, Pokemon Stadium. That is my number 7. Then, the first time I played this game, my maturity level, I was already low, but it made it worse. Conker's Bad Fur Day at number 6.
Yes! I was hoping one of you guys got that one too.
That game is so raunchy.
It is. It's terrible. That's why I loved it. I was a teenager. Of course I loved it.
On the Xbox, they released the Rare Collections game, and that was on it, and I played the crap out of it.
I was in college when Conker's came out, and I absolutely adored it.
Guys, I've never played Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Oh,
Don't play it around kids.
I've never played it
around kids. One of the first M-rated games ever released for Nintendo.
And there's a reason why.
Yep.
Interesting.
When you're playing multiplayer, the team deathmatch style, and you're on a heavy machine gun, the bears literally go, die, you sons of a...
Well,
Hey, Rook, remember the pollinating the bee queen?
It's on my Ambernick device, and like my son, my 3-year-old, was like wanting to play games on there, and I was picking through Nintendo 64 games today, and I almost picked that one for him because I thought, it's just a little game about a little squirrel.
Oh, no.
I'm glad I didn't.
It starts off with him hung over from drinking so much.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't pick that one.
Star Wars Shadows of the Empire is number 5 for me.
I saw that in a lot of the top 25 lists.
I would love to see that remade with better graphics. Number 4, and this was a toss-up for number 3 and number 4 for me. Number 4 is Perfect Dark. I love that game. It's amazing. I liked it better than a lot of the shooters at the time, and I still went back and played it again when they released it on Xbox.
Can I guess? Number 3 is GoldenEye, isn't it?
No.
Oh, surprising. That's why I thought it was a toss-up, because those two games are really close as far as...
They are, but there's a lot more fun cheats you can do on GoldenEye when you're playing against friends. Rogue Squadron's number 3.
Oh, okay.
That I was going to say that has to be on your list. There's no way that's not.
Of course it is. Number 2 is GoldenEye.
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding.
And then, guess what game is number 1 for me, guys?
Ocarina of Time?
Yep. Love that game.
That's a good list. I like that list. It's a solid list. My list is nothing like that list.
All right, give it to us.
My first, true Archon fashion. 2 honorable mentions. 2 of them. The first one, Killer Instinct Gold.
I forgot about Killer Instinct.
That is one of my favorite Killer Instinct games. Was Gold. It's one of the games that I got with the system that I got to stare at and learn how to every cheat there was and how to do every move before I could even play the game because I had 2 weeks to just look at it. Number 2 honorable mention was a game called Quest 64.
I know that one.
I don't think I played that one.
I loved that game, and I still to this day will play that game because I love it so much. It's really cool. It's got a really unique system. I
forgot about that game. I did play the snot out of that one.
It had a really cool system where you had to find these like little whispers, and then you could like choose what type of magic you wanted to learn based on where you wanted to put your whispers. So it was like one of the first RPGs where you actually got to choose how you wanted to play it, and I like that. It was fun.
That's cool.
But my number 10, start with the list. Dun dun dun. Number 10 was Turok Dinosaur Hunter.
I love Turok games.
I love the Turok series.
I wish they would have brought them back.
Good. They are. They're making a new one.
I heard.
They're making a new one. I can't wait.
The very first Turok game I ever played was on a later console, and it was on a spaceship that you could reconfigure.
That's weird. No, I old school, like going through like Aztec places and fighting dinosaurs and on the ground in the jungle. Turok, man, that game was so good. Number 9 was another game I got with the system that I got to stare at and learn all the moves for. Was Mortal Kombat Trilogy.
That's a good one.
One of my favorite Mortal Kombat games. Number 8, Pilot Wings 64. I played the absolute crap out of that game. I like that one better than the Super Nintendo version. It was
Which one?
Pilot Wings 64.
Never played it.
There's just so much you could do, and with the 3D made it so much better because like when you're flying around and then you got to take the pictures of things, and
that's what I didn't like.
I loved it. Number 7, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. I think that's one of the few ones that I actually had in common with you, Rook.
You had one space higher than mine.
Number 6, Banjo-Kazooie. I loved Banjo-Kazooie. That game was so much fun. I'm getting my 3-year-old into it because he loves it too. He loves the little bird. So, number 5, Super Mario 64. I have a lot of... There are copies of Super Mario 64 out there. Not all of them, but there are some copies of that game that have my name in the credits. So I have to love that game because when I was younger and I beat the snot out of that game and I found a glitch in the game that nobody else found and I submitted it to Nintendo. And then they sent me a little certificate and said that like every game that came out after that, including they gave me a copy of the game that had my name in the credits. So that was kind of cool. The only game out there that's got my name in the credits.
I've got a couple.
Number 4, Wave Race 64.
Yeah, I did love that game. That was the first one I owned actually with my system.
I beat every track, every way you could do it, found every secret, knew every trick. I loved that game. It was a lot of fun. Number 3, these guys say it's a cop-out, but I don't think it's a cop-out. I put the Mario Party franchise, all 3.
You can't do a franchise. It has to be a particular game. It's the top 10 games.
They're all 3 the same. They're the same game. They just have different mini games.
Because there's different maps, different systems, different. It was
no, but they're all 3 on they're all 3 on Nintendo 64. If I had to choose one, I would say 2 is my favorite. But
we'll just
I loved
keep it at Mario Party 2 then.
I loved all 3 of them. I actually used to play this over at my friend John's house all the time. There was one night in particular where we had to go to the store 3 different times to buy new controllers because we broke the little joysticks where they would just lay limp on the side.
Yep.
Just from spinning them like crazy on some of those mini games. We learned that day never to buy anything made by Mad Cats because it was all trash and would break really easy.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is Shadows of the Empire. That to this day is still one of my favorite Star Wars games. The story was amazing. It had Boba Fett in it, and Boba Fett has always been one of my favorite Star Wars characters. So, and my number 1, Ocarina of Time, of course.
I need to make a correction. When we were talking about Turok, I was completely wrong about the actual name of the game. So, just need to make that correction.
Oh, okay. You'll notice that 007 GoldenEye was not on my list.
Yep.
And it's not that I didn't like it. I didn't play it that much. We rented it once and we played it, and that was about it. That's all I've ever really played GoldenEye.
I spent more time on that game with my buddies than any other game.
I don't think I've never really been huge into first-person shooters. I mean, Turok.
I was really big into them.
Turok was more because of the dinosaurs and because you can like slash things with your knife and like I don't know, but I wasn't a huge fan of Perfect Dark or GoldenEye because I just didn't really like first-person shooters that much.
GoldenEye is considered the father of the modern shooter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
For good reason.
Which is weird because it did come out first, but Perfect Dark was a better game.
Yeah. Perfect Dark I liked because when you're playing against other people and you get the rocket launcher and then you had the laptop turret gun you can throw out. But you can get the rocket launcher and you can fly the rocket around the stage chasing people.
Well, my list is not too different than your guys' honestly. I share a lot of commonalities with you guys, which is a first. I don't have honorable mentions. There's a shocker. My number 10 is probably the most surprising one on the list for you guys, I think, and everybody who listens to the show. Pokemon Snap.
That is a surprise.
I thought you don't like Pokemon.
Absolutely love that game.
I thought you don't like Pokemon. So let me get this straight. You don't like Pilot Wings because of the taking the pictures and stuff aspect, and you don't like Pokemon, but you like Pokemon taking pictures.
Because it was just that. That's the whole premise of the game was just that. And you were on a rails, and it was just, I had so much fun doing it, and then playing with my son later on in life, taking the pictures of the Pokemon and getting all the secrets and all that stuff. I had an absolute blast with that game because it wasn't actual Pokemon, the game itself, like the normal play style. You weren't a 12-year-old going around the world alone, taming animals to beat the crap out of each other.
Ash is 10.
Whatever, 10.
10 years old.
That's worse. My number 9 is 1080 Snowboarding.
I've never played that.
It was so much fun. The half pipe on it was just addicting. 8, Blast Corps.
Never even heard of that one.
You gotta look that one up. The whole premise is that there was this like runaway missile that was on a truck, and you had to go clear the way for it so it doesn't blow up anything. So it was all about smashing everything, blowing everything up. So
let me get this straight. Your list is just like our list, but the first 3 games on it are all games that none of us had on it.
No, it's the rest that after that point that is pretty similar. Like, for instance, my number 7 is Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah, now I want to play it.
Number 6 is Donkey Kong 64. That had to be on my list. One of my favorites. Number 5 is Mario 64. Played that game to where I got every single possible star in the game. It was addicting, and it was mind-blowingly. It's just mind-blowing to me as a kid, or a late teen actually, being in an actual 3D world. It took a little bit for my brain to get used to it.
Yeah, I also got every single star. That's how you. That's how I found the glitch. Was the glitch is once you get every single star, you can like you know how you open that cannon outside, and you could get the hat to fly. I shot myself out of the cannon with the hat and made it to the top of the castle. And if you go to the very top of the tower of the castle, you'll fall through the castle and you'll end up stuck between the front door and the front like foyer. It's like weird clipping, but you can't get out. You're just stuck there forever.
It was the mechanics of the game were amazing at the time. I still have the music from the castle area stuck in my head. The music in the game was awesome. Everything about that game was just really, really, really good for its time.
You know, my favorite part of that game is grabbing Bowser by his tail and swinging him around in circles and throwing him at the bombs.
I remember laughing so hard about that fight.
Oh, it was so good.
My number 4 is Mario Party 3. I played that with my family to death. My family, I'm an oldest of 8, so there's a lot of kids in the house. We played a lot of Mario Party, and Mario Party 3 has some of my best memories. My number 3 is Mario Kart 64. Loved it. Played a ton of it. Way more than I ever should have.
Was that on your list, Rook?
At the very top.
Yeah, I didn't have that one on my list either.
My number 2 is GoldenEye 007. And of course, I think we had our first ever triple tie. My number 1 was Ocarina of Time.
Dude, it's just a great game.
It was so good. It is really good.
The undisputed champion of the N64.
Easily.
There's a lot of good games on the N64, don't get us wrong, but this was our favorites. There's a lot of games that I didn't mention that I've played.
Oh yeah, there was a bunch of great ones that I had to leave off the list. Like I didn't have Star Fox on my list. It was on my honorable mentions until I remembered Quest, and then I was like, ooh, no, I gotta put Quest on my list. And I mean, like Jet Force Gemini was a great game. Banjo-Tooie was also a good game. Buck Bumble.
You're going to have to play Conker's Bad Fur Day, at least a little bit of it, and let us know what you think.
I might. It's on.
Yeah.
I told you. It's on my
Well, like I said, no kids around unless you're okay with them seeing close to rated R stuff.
Oh, it
gets rated R.
Even Final Fantasy VII Remake, I have to play with my headphones on because it's definitely not rated PG, that's for sure. There's especially Barrett, man. That dude swears up a storm.
Conker's Bad Fur Day blatantly goes to everything raunchy possible.
Mm-hmm. There is a poo monster.
Have you guys ever played? Have either of you ever played Duke Nukem?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Love that series. I have it on Steam, all of them.
That series is hilarious. But
also, what was the other one that I loved so much? That was bad on many levels, but not as bad as those.
Oh, you wanna play a game? I'll tell you a game that actually made me blush. Like I would turn red in parts because of embarrassment
Serious
because of
Sam.
how raunchy. Serious Sam, yes, but you want to play a game that's the most raunchy game you've ever seen or played in your life? Play South Park: The Stick of Truth.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying South Park automatically puts it in that category.
Oh no, it's wow. There's one particular boss fight in that game I will never forget in my life. Have you played it, Rook?
Yes, I have.
The underpants gnome necromancer. That's all I gotta say. If you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about.
Don't think I got up to getting that character.
Oh my goodness. We'll talk about it after we're off the air. If I talked about it on the air, we'd have to change our rating of our show. So,
if we talked more than the vagueness of Conker's Bad Fur Day, we'd have to change the rating of our show.
Yeah, that's our list, guys. I'm sure it's crazy just to see the variety just between like the three of us because
our different play
we're all
styles
very
and stuff like
similar, but yet our lists are always so different.
Not completely, right? But we got. Yeah. I'm actually surprised we had so many samesies in this one.
Well, I mean, the Nintendo 64 wasn't like the Super Nintendo. There wasn't 1,000 titles to choose from. There was like what 100 and I think there was like 180 games total.
Oh yeah,
that came out
they
on
had
the
very low third-party support, which caused that. But Rare was
Wigit,
amazing.
And Wigit was old enough to actually play more varied games than family-friendly games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that too. But it's like, I mean, there was some like weird indie ones that weren't, and then there were like the really good ones. I mean, this system was actually one of the easier ones to pick, just because there's only so many to choose from that were actually like good titles. So
yeah, I went through my list pretty quick.
Now, when we get to PlayStation 2,
once we hit PlayStation 2, I got a feeling we're going to see some vastly different selection.
Wait, isn't that one's next, right?
Yes.
Oh, see, that one's going to be tough for me. That one's going to be really tough for me.
We got PlayStation 2, GameCube, and then Xbox.
I know what my number one is, but that's about it. The rest of them, I'm going to have to might have 15 honorable mentions from PlayStation 2.
I'm going to have to really think about the PlayStation 2 because there's a lot of games I like. I'm anxious for the Xbox One because one of my favorite stealth games is on Xbox.
Are you talking OG Xbox or are you talking Xbox One again?
Xbox. Not Xbox
OG.
One.
You said Xbox One, so I had to clarify. But...
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out why they went Xbox 360, Xbox One, and then Xbox Series X. Their naming convention made no sense on the Xbox.
No. It's funny too because originally the Xbox One was going to be called the Xbox 720.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the movie Real Steel, when they're in the big robot battle at the end, there's advertisements for the Xbox 720 on the Titantrons and stuff like that. There's
which was a good movie, by the way.
That was a phenomenal movie.
Now, one of my favorite games for stealth outside of your what's the name of that game? Metal Gear Solid is a game called Tenchu.
Yes, I know Tenchu. Yep. I talked about that on the PlayStation one. You didn't hear that because you weren't here, but it was on my list.
Mm-hmm.
It was on his PlayStation.
I played it on Xbox. I didn't play it on PlayStation.
Tenchu Stealth Assassins. And I played the next 3 games that came out for it, but they were never as good as the first one.
Maybe I did play it. Oh, I did play it on...
Did it come out for Xbox?
Yeah, it came out for PlayStation, PlayStation 2, Xbox, PSP, Nintendo DS, Xbox 360, and Wii.
Got it.
I couldn't imagine trying to play that on Wii.
No, and we will get to the Wii too. That's down the road. I can make a list off of that one for sure.
There are a few systems we were talking about earlier that we're gonna kind of skip over, like the Jaguar. None of us even played it.
Yeah, there's systems out there that just didn't do well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Sega Saturn, Sega CD, neither one of those really. I mean, like he said, we'll touch on the Dreamcast a little bit, but only because there was a couple games that have to be mentioned on the Dreamcast. Crazy Taxi. But other than that,
Dreamcast is only has a special place in my heart because one of the games I worked on launched for that system as a first online multiplayer shooter. All right, we have one little news article to wrap up the show, and the floor is yours, Archon.
So I saw something today that kind of interested me, and had a little discussion with Rook about it too. Sony has announced that as of February 2025, they are discontinuing making Blu-rays, and they also said like mini discs and a lot of like physical media media discs. And one of the questions I raised to Rook is, what does that mean for the PS5? Because all the PS5 games are Blu-ray discs.
The thing is it's
they can
more
do
common
streaming and downloads.
It was more common, and the most sold console was actually their digital download one, not their actual one with the CD drive.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if they're going to discontinue the production of a Blu-ray disc, does that mean that they are not going to make physical copies of their PS5 games anymore?
Right.
Like, they're completely of them? That sucks.
Yeah,
I don't like
the physical game media is going the way of the dodo with how modern internet is.
And I don't like that, because I don't like the quote unquote I am buying the rights to play this game and I can't play it anymore someday when they decide that they don't want to support it anymore. I like having a physical copy of my game that I can know that I will always be able to play anytime I want. And like, for instance, like when they just decide, okay, we're not supporting PS5 anymore, then what? Now all of a sudden I don't have any of my games anymore that I paid for?
It's all about the dollar.
That sucks.
So
I don't like that.
It's like with N64, their cartridges were too expensive, so a lot of companies ducked out because they were losing some money on it. The same thing, even in Blu-ray, it still costs money to make it. It's not free. So, but streaming is.
Right, but the thing is I can go buy a Nintendo 64 cartridge, pop it in my Nintendo 64, and play it.
And you own the game.
50 years from now, whether they stop supporting it or not, I can still play it.
I'm not for it. I'm just saying I understand the reasons why they're doing it, and I know that's what's going to happen just because of how technology is progressing. I'm not a big fan of it either. It's just going to happen.
Yeah, it sucks.
So pretty much it's either buy more hard drives or a larger hard drive that you can stick in a PS5 to download the games you want to play and go with it, and then just never delete the game, or lose those games when they're stopped being hosted. So I do not like this current way gaming industry is switching to.
One of the big things that's going to be a big positive on this is that the future generations of gaming consoles are going to be far cheaper because they require a lot less hardware.
Yeah, but
what about backwards compatible?
That's going to be a way to do it too, because they can just put that on digital and just stream it. It doesn't have to have media.
And charge you money to play it when I already own the games.
Except for Nintendo, because like Nintendo, the Switch 2 they're coming out with is going to be backwards compatible, and they're not going to digital only, so
they will eventually.
No, they're going to stick with those small cartridges. Those really small cartridges are nothing but a memory file, pretty much.
And like Rook said, like the PlayStation, it's great. Go all digital. That's awesome. But don't sell me a system that has a 1 gig hard drive and I can only save either one Call of Duty game or 3 other games, and then I'm out of space.
With technology, it's so much cheaper nowadays for physical storage. So even getting like 100 gigs is going to be cheaper, far cheaper.
If you're going to make it digital only, then you have to give me some storage space, because
I guarantee they will.
The PlayStation 5, you can't even connect an external storage to it. You have to put an internal storage in it. And if you take your PlayStation 5 apart, you void the warranty. So
stop right there. That is federally illegal. What? They cannot void the warranty for you opening up your PlayStation to put in a new hard drive.
They always used to.
That has been federal law for the past 10 or so years.
Well, I'm glad about that, because I know they used to put those stickers on them, and if that sticker was ever broken, they wouldn't support it.
Now, on the PlayStation 5, it is meant to be opened up so you can add a second memory card on there. It's actually on the back side of your PlayStation, and that casing just pops off and slides in. Because I did it. That's the only reason why I know.
The modern systems down the road are going to have M.2 storage with a motherboard, a CPU, a GPU, and then controllers. And not what you think, like physical controls, but the controller ports and controller technology for it, which is going to cut the price down by a third of what it would normally be.
That's what
Xbox
is talking about.
Yeah,
I think they're going to do that, and then they're still going to charge us.
But here is right now that is not accurate, so to speak, and that just because of the Steam Deck, and that's the reason why I'm saying that, because the Steam Deck's expensive still. And it is nothing but a thing for Steam.
Even Xbox says them on an article that I got to look it up, that the next generation, when they go to complete streaming only, is going to be far cheaper.
They're projecting it to be, yeah. Because you don't have to pay for the laser and all that to read a disc.
Which is one of the most expensive parts of the machine.
That and solid state drives are just so much cheaper than a hard drive, too.
They also need to work with their developers. Like, if you have a limited storage and you have some, like I mentioned earlier, Call of Duty. Have you ever seen how big a Call of Duty game is?
Yeah. Last time me and Wigit played Call of Duty together, it was 150 gigabytes.
On what?
That was on PC.
Mm-hmm.
The PlayStation 5 version, if I remember correctly, I'll double check it, but I remember it was something like 400 gigabytes. It took up literally half of your storage for that one game.
All games, though, these days are going to be huge any way you look at it. If you want these great graphics, you're going to have huge games. That's what's taking up most of the stuff. And I was incorrect. HDDs are cheaper by far, but compared to the speed, ultimately, I would say SSDs are going to be the way to go in the future.
Yeah, well, I said my piece. You said your piece. Let's move on.
I did not say my piece. I said my pieces.
True. You normally do. That's the whole point of the show, actually.
Yeah. Just to clarify, I was a little off. It says the newest Call of Duty game requires 250 gigabytes of storage.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. And when the system itself only comes with like 720 that you can use, that's a third of your storage for one game.
Mm-hmm. In Sony's case, they make their own memory as well, so they're probably using it as a way to get you to buy more memory card, spend more money on the console. Now, if they get rid of the physical media drive, then I think it would be okay. But ultimately, if they do go digital only, they're going to either make it where we can actually put in external hard drives, or they come with 5 terabytes of memory.
Or what they should do is make it to where you only have to download so much of the game and just stream the rest, like they do with like PlayStation Network, where you only have to download like a 10 gigabyte file and then you stream the rest.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you'd have to have an active internet connection, but nowadays you kind of have to play any of your systems anyway.
See, that's where it's going to hurt, because there's a lot of people that live out here where I live in Texas. There's a lot of people that like playing video games that live where all they get is DSL. They don't get a really horrible satellite. They don't get this great streaming ability to stream.
Yeah, but like on my PlayStation 5 now, if I don't have an internet connection, I can't play most of my games anyway. It won't let me. It says you have to have an active internet connection to even be able to play it. So
I haven't had that problem.
I do. All the time.
Yeah, I hate how they're trying to keep everybody connected. That's one thing I like about Steam is I can make a PC my primary offline computer, and I can still play all my games.
You're going to have to tell me how to do that, because a lot of my Steam games won't let me play unless I have an active connection either.
Yeah,
that is because Steam requires you.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that.
All right, guys. We're going to wrap up the show tonight. And next week, we're diving into PlayStation 2. It's going to be a fun one. It's the highest selling system of all time, and one of the greatest. And I can't think of any specific PlayStation 2 games on top of my head right now, which drive me nuts.
Oh, I can think of a million.
As soon as I look at the list of everything, all the games, I'm going to have my top 10 in a heartbeat, but I just cannot think of it specifically at the moment.
I can think of a ton.
Yeah, I remember being
tough.
beyond excited for that system to come out and getting it for my birthday, and it was the greatest thing. But yeah, anyway, we'll get into that next week. And we've got some changes coming to the network, our podcasting network. We're going to let you guys know about that later down the road. We got to still figure it out. This show is staying where it's at, guys. Not going anywhere. Me, Rook, and Archon love doing it. Love talking to you guys. Mm-hmm. Raw and Nerdy's a permanent fixture with Raw Podcasts. And if you guys want to reach this show via email, podcastraw@gmail.com. It's if you want to do any kind of business with us, use our email. You can also use our Discord. You can message us individually, but we like the email when we're doing business. That way all of us can see it as well and discuss it and things like that. But you can message us individually on our Discord. We love that as well. I always reply to them every time I get them. Not right away all the time, but I do. Discord.gg/Raw Podcasts. And you can go join one of our many different message boards and just nerd out and have fun. Our X is @PodcastRaw. Our Facebook is Raw Podcasts. Our Instagram,
Raw Podcast 1.
And I am the Widget. You can find me everywhere as that. TheWigit.
You can find me everywhere as some variation of Tomcat 213 or Rook 213.
And you can find me on all social media as the Archon 606, or if you want to find me on gaming platforms, it's quick QWICK_D_606.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and have a fantastic nerdy week.
Y'all stay nerdy now.
Have a great week, guys.